Hi, Clemens. Thank you so much for being part of this interview today. I think you're pretty much known all over Austria, but probably also internationally. But would you still mind giving us a small introduction?
Sure. Thanks for having me. My name is Klemens. I'm a game developer from Graz, and I make mostly mobile games with a focus on accessibility and on education. And that's basically it.
Yeah, I think especially this focus on accessibility has been quite impressive as part of your work. But before we go there, would you tell us more about the history of you or your studio and how everything started and to where we are now?
Sure. Uh, Everything started like a couple of years ago where I was studying at the TU Graz software development and or computer science. And one day I had an idea for my first little game, Elementary Minute, and I wanted to build that game for the Apple Watch, which wasn't announced back then. And so I thought I'm just gonna write it for iOS and port it to an Apple Watch later when one will be announced. And that's basically what I did, and that's how I ended up in gaming.
I
Yeah.
can remember still the first newspapers telling the story, and I mean, you already like shortly mentioned it, but also your latest games have received quite a international interest from different news channels. Would you tell us what projects you're currently working on? And yeah,
Yeah, I'm still working on my latest project, which is Subwords. Um, and Subwords is like a small mix of a trivia and a word searching game um, where words are split into their syllables and you have to put them back together. And um, all the words are um, from one specific topic, so you have to have certain knowledge about a topic to even know which words to put back together. And yeah, I'm still working on that. I'm creating new levels for that. I'm updating this. Yeah, that's basically it.
and here you had some impressive accessibility features, right? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I the game is fully playable for blind people and people with low vision through the iOS screen reader called VoiceOver. It's also fully playable with voice control, which is uh, like natural language input with which you can use your phone and play games. And I also made something I called head control, where if you have a certain device with the FaceTime camera, then you could play the game via head tracking.
That's such a great vision. Um, I mean, speaking of vision, we would be curious if you think about the future of you as a game developer, your game development studio, your game development career. What are what is the big vision on the one hand, and also what are like the next steps? So, what is coming in the next years? Is there anything we can expect? And what is the big vision here?
Um, I mean, my vision is to uh, bring a bit more awareness to accessibility in gaming because it's still kind of a niche topic. There are not a lot of games that are accessible, especially most games that are accessible are uh, like specifically made for a certain group of people and not for the general public. So they are not like it's a game that is just made for blind people, but a person with perfect sight would probably not play that game because it's not interesting. to him, and I want to bring more awareness to making all games more accessible so that every person can play every kind of game, or like at least as good as possible. And yeah, I'm building on new prototypes around accessibility and around accessible gaming, and I'm also going more in the direction of education, and language learning is something that really interests me. And yeah, we'll see what the future brings.
Yeah, yeah. Your work is definitely inspirational. Um, what would you say to young developers, to young game developers? What advices would you have? I mean, you started also very early as a student next to your studies. What advices would you give others?
Mm, I mean, it's one advice you probably hear often, but that you don't really have to start with a big game, or you don't even have to have like a huge vision or something like that to make a game, as long as you have fun with building it. Like if you look at my very first game, Elementary Minute, which is basically just a which at least started as a game to learn how to make simple calculations and just decide if a calculation is right or wrong by swiping up or down. And uh, that thing was really small, but it gave me a first like glimpse of how it is to build a game, how it is to release a game, how which steps are included in making it from like a simple idea to a finished product. And like going through that whole sequence is something that is super helpful, and when you want to tackle a bigger project later in your career. So start small and try to finish and actually release a game, even if you think like even if you think nobody's gonna play it, somebody will. Like my very first game was downloaded 30 times in the first month, and it still felt super amazing because one guy like I had a download in China, so that was like I reached someone in China, that was a nice feeling. And yeah, I don't know.
That's really cool. I think that's super motivating. Um, this might be now a challenging question, maybe not. But I mean, 2020, as we know, has been a very weird year, let's put it that way. It has been very challenging for many of us, and I would love to hear like how did you cope with this year and its special requirements, and is there anything you learned for the next year or you would do differently in the coming years, or what you're looking forward to, which when things are a little bit more normal again?
Mm, I definitely look forward to uh, like meeting friends again, uh, meeting people again, because like my job besides game development and besides my studies is a software development job that's remote, and my company is located with which I work is located in the US, so I don't have that much interaction with them. So I'm mostly at home and uh, alone with my girlfriend. So that's uh, which is still better than just being alone. But I still miss my friends, and I want to go outside again. That's basically it.
Yeah, thank you so much for the this really honest and interesting answer. When you talked about accessibility, something I was just wondering, which would be super interesting. Where do you get the information from? Like, how do you make games more accessible? Are there any tips you can give others here?
Sure. There are there's a website called Game Accessibility Guidelines, which is a huge list of different things you can do to make games more accessible, and they even feature some best practices. So that's definitely a good start. And there's a great series from GameX's Toolkit about game accessibility that I also can highly recommend. And just if you search on YouTube for how blind players can play games, videos like that are super interesting and super inspiring. And that there is, for example, a documentation from HBO about a blind player who's playing Mortal Kombat, and I can really recommend that, watching that one.
Amazing. Thank you so much. This is so inspiring. I really look up to all your work on your take on educational games and including accessibility elements there. This is really important, really inspirational, and thank you so much for being an interview partner today. And yeah, good luck for the future vision of yours and for your future games. Thank you so much.
Thanks, and thanks for having me.
Bye.
Bye.